Okay, you have some, okay.
Yeah, I print out the flyer and
Yes.
said what we sell recently in this area.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a newsletter yet.
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Anyways, what you might find very helpful is if you choose the street that you're gonna do, okay? And then about a week before, or 4 or 5 days before, send out a flyer into the area where your picture, make sure your picture is on there, okay? And at least, you know, they get to, even if they just glance at it, you know, if you put the flyer out before you go and knock the door, you can then, you know, people will start to recognize your face when you come to the door. So try that before you actually go out. The other thing I can suggest to you is calling, okay? Even though you've got the do not call, people are more, oh.
It's okay, don't worry, I will get you back.
Okay, no problem. I thought it was me doing something. Anyway, so try calling.
Where I can get their phone number?
That's a good question. Write this down.
Okay.
There is a software that you can buy. It's a yearly agreement.
Okay.
And it does exactly that. Let me tell you what the name of it is. It's called Telelisting,
Okay.
T-E-L-E, listing, yeah, .net.
Okay.
Now, I believe it costs $299 a year.
Okay.
But this is a site that you can go to, that you can pick any street anywhere in the province of Ontario, anywhere, okay? And you pick the street that you want, and up will come, let's just make a name up, Black Street, okay? And it'll show you all the house numbers on this street, and it'll show you who is occupying the property.
Oh.
Okay, now, 2 things I want to tell you about. A, it doesn't mean they own the property. It says who occupies it. I could own house number 3 Black Street, but you own it. I'm a tenant. So it doesn't, the fact that the person's name is there as occupant doesn't mean that they own it. Okay, that's number 1. Okay. Number 2, hi. Number 2, the other thing you need to take into consideration with this telelisting.net application is if it's a do not call, they'll red flag it. It'll have, it shows you that. You know, it'll say that this is a do not call, okay? Which means you can't call. But not everybody is on a do not call. Now the other thing that I want to say to you about this is that a lot of people don't have house phones anymore, as you know. It's becoming more and more and more common that people say, hey, I got a cell phone, why do I need a landline? You know, a lot of people don't have a landline. So if the person has an unlisted number, you know what an unlisted number is, right? If you have a landline and it's unlisted, it'll show the person who occupies it, but it won't have a number there because they're not allowed to give that number out because it's unlisted, okay? So not everyone is going to be 100%, not every street is going to be 100%, but it's going to give you, you know, at least, depending on how long the street is, you know, if it's a short street, it's different, but if it's a long street, you'll probably have about 60 to 70% where you can get on the phone and call people, okay? So enough that you can, that it's worth it. And you know, a few of you might go together on this, and so that you're not all paying the whole thing, because you can go together on it if there's other people in the office that want to do that. But it's $299. It gives you all the streets everywhere in Ontario, and you pick your area, and then what you can do is you can go in there and you can see who occupies it, and the phone number will be there. And the phone number will be there, even if it's do not call, it'll just say do not call. But if it's an unlisted number, then of course, there would be no do not call. It just won't have a number. So, try calling, okay? The most important thing to remember with door knocking and cold calling is if you've gone out once or twice or 3 times or 5 times, and you've knocked on, you know, I'm just making numbers up here, 100 doors or 200 doors in that time frame that you've done it, that's, you can't use that as a judgment, if you know what I'm saying. Real estate is all based on consistency, consistency, consistency. That's the single most important part of real estate. So, and then you've got to start looking at other ways of being able to generate leads, okay? And other ways of being able to farm. But farming is great. Have you chosen an area?
Yes, I already chose the area.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. And tell me a little bit about the area. What price range are the houses?
That area is like tricky because that area, all the houses are linked.
All the houses are links?
Yeah, it's linked.
Good, so
It's
they're
not-
more affordable.
Yeah, exactly. So the
Yeah.
price range right now is about between 800 to 900.
Oh, good, good
It's
price
very
range.
easy to sell.
Very good price
Yeah.
range, very easy to sell.
And-
Excellent.
And also they don't have like a stable agent in there.
Great.
Yeah, the loyalty is not.
Good for you,
not
you
good.
did your research.
Yes, yes. Because for that area, easy money and also no competition. Yeah,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great.
And especially in that area, I already sold two houses.
Oh, great.
Already. Yeah, around the area.
Yes.
So that's why I sent the flyer out.
Yes.
And try to knock the door. But
Yes.
the thing is that when I sent the flyer out, I got a phone call, probably 4 to 5.
Keep doing the flyers consistently.
Yeah.
Remember, just like knocking on doors, you gotta do it consistently, making phone calls, you gotta do it consistently. Putting marketing material into your farm area has got to be done at least once a month. Twice a month is even better, but at least once a month. And you just be consistent with it, consistent with it, consistent with it. Because people might be thinking about selling, but maybe now's not the right time, but they've been getting your material for the last 6 months, 8 months, a year, and today's the day they pick up the phone.
Right.
So remember, don't just do it once because you sold, or twice because you sold. You gotta make the commitment to do it all the time.
Oh, but for the
All the
flyer,
time.
I got a hard time right now for the flyer because I don't know how to see. Because first time I
What do
sent
you
the flyer,
mean you're having a hard time? What's a hard
because
time?
I needed to have the article. First
You
time
need to have what?
article, like what's inside. Because first time when I sent the flyer, I said, oh, congratulations, I got this one sold. And the second time I sent the flyer, said I have the new listing come out. And then I said, oh, congratulations, I sold it again. And right now I don't know how to send the flyer out.
Oh, well, there's all kinds, you know, there's all kinds of different things. Have you gone into our resource section, or maybe talked to Sammy?
Yeah,
because-
Sammy already.
Yeah,
tried.
because there's all kinds of different, free evaluation is another one that you send out, you know, just, now's a good time, the spring is coming, you know, there's the market is hot, you know, and it is, you know, there's a lot of buyers out there. So free market evaluation is one that you can send out. The other thing you should be thinking about investigating into is a newsletter. That is one of the most important pieces of literature or marketing materials that every real estate agent should make a commitment. The newsletter is your way of being able to talk about real estate, talk about what's happening in the market, sharing data from the Toronto Real Estate Board, you know, what's going on in the real estate market, average house prices, you know, days on market, list price to sale price ratio, to keep them informed on that. And so a newsletter, it goes out every month, and there are newsletter services out there, so you don't even have to do it.
Oh, really?
It's,
Oh,
you
that's
just
really-
pay the money. In other words, well, I'm going to give you the name of, and those of you that are interested, I've talked about him before, and he's, well, as a matter of fact, I have. Oh, just so happened that he sent me a package,
Oh, that's perfect.
and I'll leave this package here,
Oh.
okay, with Sammy, so that you can, Sammy, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to give you this,
Okay, I will scan and then send it.
Yeah, in case, and then, oops, so, here's the name of the company, Mission Response.
Okay, sorry.
Mission Response, okay, and .com. Let me show you some of the and I'm gonna give all of this. So, he has a whole variety, and it depends on which one you want. For example, he has the one pager.
Oh,
I like the one pager.
I like this one.
Now, let me pass it around so you can take a look at it. And I'm gonna give one to you as well. They're different, it depends on, for example, this is Markland Woods, which is your area right here. If I'm not mistaken, you're coming to me because you want to steal this from my hand? All of a sudden, she came alive. Good for you. Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
These are all different ones,
Oh,
and they're different. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's big.
This is what you need.
This is
Okay.
professional flare.
Very, very, very professional. Out of all, there's a lot of different companies out there. Now, let me tell you what I really like about him. I've known him for years. He's been in the direct marketing business, meaning direct mail business, for 30 years. He's an expert in this. That's all he's done for 30 years. And he specializes in real estate, so he really knows how to package the information when it comes to the door to make people open it. There's various ways you can pay to have it go in an envelope addressed to the individual. It's up to you. I'll give you his phone number and you can call him. And I'm going to leave this whole package here with, and let me just show you before I pass it to Sammy. There's also a 2-pager, if I'm not mistaken, that I want to show you. Yeah, so that's the 1-pager. That is more affordable, obviously, but just to give you an idea, this is the 2-pager, or 4-pager, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay, now, you don't have to do anything with this. In other words, they do it all. Unless there's something you want to feature that month, you know, I want to talk about this, and you provide them the literature or the article that you want to have them print for you. Otherwise, just pay the bill. And they do everything. They mail it, they print it, they put the information there. All you have to provide them is, you know, your own personal contact information, your logo, and that sort of thing, and they do all the rest for you. You also get exclusivity. So if you choose an area and somebody is marketing that area, she's doing it, and you want to go into that area, he won't sell you the area.
Oh, really?
So she gets exclusivity. So once you buy the neighborhood, nobody else gets it. Only yours. So the good part is you don't have 3-4 agents sending the same information in the area. So you get exclusivity. So he's really good, and he has a whole variety of different marketing materials that I'm going to put the whole package here, as I said, with Sammy. So when you're done with it, maybe you can just give it all back to him, and then he'll scan it and maybe send it out to everybody. Okay. So Mission Response is really a great company for a newsletter, and it's the one that I would recommend. Now let me give you his phone number for those of you who do want to make a phone call. Bear with me while I get to my... His name is Andrew.
Oh, my name is Andrew.
Oh, there you go. Already. Oops. Andrew Kardos. Kardos. Sorry, I had to find it. Andrew Kardos, Kardos. Very, very nice man. You can reach him at 416-236-0543. Tell him Gabrielle sent you. It's not going to help me, it's going to help you if you mention my name, because he gives better treatment to, because I've sent him a lot of business over the years. So you get better treatment, and hopefully maybe even a little better price, but I don't know. I don't control his prices, he's pretty. But anyways, he's got a great product, and you will not be disappointed. He has taken real estate agents' careers and has just skyrocketed them. You know, in other words, his material he can give you all kinds of testimonials from people that have used his services over the years and how it's built their business. So a really important part of your real estate career is once, from a farming point of view, you choose the neighborhood, you've done that, you've chosen, it sounds like a really good area, and now it's getting you gotta build that recognition. There is no better way than to invest into a newsletter. Then it goes out all the time, and then people will start to call you more and more. Remember, it's a commitment that you make not just for 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 months. It's something you've got to make a commitment for a long time. Okay? You had a question? Did you have a question?
Yeah.
We're doing an open forum, by the way, is what we're doing here right now.
Talking about the farming. So
Yes.
I was farming, and then like 200 households, something like Andrew's area.
Yeah, how many households?
200.
Not enough.
Yes.
But anyways, go ahead.
My first step,
Yeah,
and I sent the newsletters first, and then 4 days later we knocked the door,
good,
and then some of them, like, have seen that flyer, but
great.
most of them haven't seen that.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And then
That's
we-
normal, by the way.
And then we just introduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of them not really, not interested.
Okay,
And-
true, absolutely.
Like 20% of them will talk like 1 to 2 minutes with us.
Mhm.
And then they know that we are the real estate in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, some of them, I got the email address.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
How did you get it?
I just asked them,
Good
would you
for
like,
you.
would
Good
you
for
like
you.
to share your email address? We can send you some like newsletters or
Good for you.
information.
Yeah.
So one of them is very nice old couple.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are planning to sell the house in 1 or 2 years because they want to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
And I have sent him twice, like the emails, but every time he replied me, and he always tell me that I will keep in mind if we planning to move. But I was thinking that am I too pushy him?
No, what you're missing is you're not getting them to the next level. So let me show you how to take someone who's thinking about it,
Yeah.
but isn't quite ready right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're looking for, is exactly this kind of a client. I mean, for you to find somebody that says, yes, we're thinking about it and we want to do it right now, come on in, is like a lottery ticket. If you know about winning a lottery ticket.
Yes.
You don't find those people easily. I'm not saying there's none out there, but it's like winning a lottery ticket. So what you're looking for is exactly what you just described. Somebody who expressed, yes, we thought about it, but we're not sure, we're not ready right now, we'll keep, we'll call you. What you've done now is you've got the door open this far, and you put your foot in there so they can't close the door on you. I'm giving you an example. So here's how you take it to the next level. What you have to do now is you have to take this client and explain to them what they should do, because real estate is about timing. You should talk about that. Real estate and getting you the highest price possible is about timing. And have you had anybody in the last couple of years offer you a free evaluation, opinion of value, call it what you want to call it, on your property? Make sure you enforce and make sure you are very clear that it's free and there's no obligation. In other words, what I think you should do, even though you're not ready right now, the best thing for you is to find out what kind of value your property has at the moment. Now, if they say something like, well, we sort of have an idea. They might say, we follow the market, we watch the news, we listen, we've talked to people, we sort of have an idea kind of thing from what door knocking material we've got. They might say something like that they have an idea. What you say to them, every property is different. And it's very important for you to get a really fresh, up-to-date evaluation on your property. Real estate is an investment, it's like stock. People who have stock monitor the stock market certainly every week. Most of them monitor it almost every day. You know, is my stock up? Is it down? 1 penny up, 2 pennies up, 3 pennies up, down? You know, they're monitoring it like every day. Real estate, you don't need to monitor every day or even every week, but you absolutely should be monitoring it every year so that you know what direction is the market going in right now. And so it's free, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I promise you I'm not going to try and high pressure you into anything, but let me do that for you. You see, one of the most important things in communicating with people is two things. Always remember the tone of your voice. You know, you've heard me talk about it before. The tone of your voice makes such a difference, making people relax with you, if you follow what I'm saying. Making people feel comfortable with you. Making people not feel that you're high pressuring them, okay? That I do this all, and if they say, well, we don't want to waste your time. I love it when they say that. Oh, we don't want to waste your time. You say, you know what, Mr. Seller? Let me tell you, it's the best thing you could ask me to do. I love doing this. I love doing evaluations. You're certainly not wasting my time. It's something I enjoy doing very, very much. And as I say, Mr. Seller, it's free. There's no obligation. I promise you I'm not going to try and high pressure you in any way at all. All I want to do is give you an idea of what your property is worth today, and show and say, well, why would you want to do that if you know that I'm not going to sell for a few years, kind of thing. Why would you want to do it now if you know I'm not going to sell it for a few years? Good question, Mr. Seller. Glad you asked that question. Because here's why I want to do that now. Because if you allow me a half an hour to come in and do this presentation on the value of your property, not only am I going to help you understand what's happening to the market and your home right now, but it also gives you an opportunity to understand the way I market real estate. And it gives me a chance to prove to you I'm the real estate agent when you are ready, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now. It gives you an opportunity to evaluate me as a real estate agent as well. So that's why I want to do this. So be honest with them. Always be honest, but take the pressure off of them and help them understand that this is something they really should be doing, and they should be doing it every year. And then say to them, listen, I do evaluations for clients that I've done business with in the past on a regular basis. I do this all the time. This is an everyday part of my business kind of thing, okay? I don't know if that helps you, because what you got to do now is you've got the door open this far, you want to get it further. Okay, what you're trying to do is get it this far, this far, this far. And every time you contact them, it opens the door a little more. And once you sit down and do an evaluation for them, now they get to evaluate you, your services, the way you would market, and now you've created a connection with that client. Until you sit down and do an evaluation with them, you have not created a connection. What you want to do is connect with them, and so don't give up. Don't give up. I hope that's helped you.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any other thing that's going on with either one of you or anybody else in your business that you say, gee, I really need help in this area. How do I deal with this? Because that's what this day is supposed to be about, is sort of about how to take your business to the next level and what to do to help yourself. I'm here to help you. So,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Just like you mentioned, the better to give evaluation to the property. Sometimes the seller, I mean the owner, just say, okay, what's the price about my property? Should you just tell
Oh,
him
I'm glad you asked that question.
straight away or go down? Try
Is this on the phone or is this at the door?
no, in front of the door?
When you're at the door?
Yes.
Okay. Good question. Two things I want to tell you, okay? Sometimes you're at the door and someone will say, oh, come on in. Take a look at my house, and how much do you think it's worth? I've had that happen, where people will actually invite you in and say, I've got a few minutes now, why don't you walk through and let me know? And they'll ask you to give them a price. Or you're just at the door and they say, well, what do you think, how much the house is worth? And obviously you haven't seen the inside. You're at the door, so you haven't seen the inside. You need to see the inside of the property, and then you need to do your research at the office, meaning the computer, gather your data so that you can understand. I'm only explaining this to you. So here's how you answer that, okay? Mr. Seller, that's a really great question, and it's the question I get asked all the time. I mean, remember. And it used to be a very easy question to answer at one time. This is a true story, I'm telling you, okay? And I would be saying that even today. It used to be one of the easiest questions to answer. There was a time, believe it or not, where I didn't even have to come in and take a look at the inside of a house, and I could evaluate a property, even from the outside. That's many years ago. All I had to do is take a look, say, show me your tax bill. Years ago, Mr. Seller, all I had to do is say, show me your tax bill. And they show them the tax bill. I look at the assessment number. Every tax bill, as you know, has an assessment number. And I used to take that assessment number and I multiplied it times a mill rate. Years ago, it used to be 0.008 or something like that, but it was a mill rate. You used to multiply the assessment number times the mill rate, and you would get the value of the property, and you'd be within $500. But that's when real estate prices were $15,000, $16,000 to buy a house. That's how long ago. 50 years ago, when I got into the business. That's how we used to do it. It's impossible to do a window inspection in any neighborhood and be able to give anybody a true value of their property. Then I would go back to what I just said to her. It's free. There's no obligation. Have a copy of one that you've done for somebody else. Not in that area. A different area. I'm sure you've done some CMAs before. Am I right? You have. Okay. So carry one with you. That you can put in your portfolio when you're knocking on doors. Because you can say, this is the kind of thing that I can do for you. It's free, there's no obligation, and everybody should know what their home is worth. Whether they want to sell or not, every year you should know, where is my equity bill, what's happening with the equity in my property. It's just part of managing your investment portfolio. Real estate is part of your investment portfolio, and you need to manage it the same way you manage your stock if you have stock. And again, emphasize free, no obligation. So if you give me an opportunity, Mr. Seller, to come and take a look at the inside of the house, if you have a moment now, or I could arrange a time to come back. And then what I'll do is I'll prepare this evaluation for you. Here's a copy of one I've done for someone in a different neighborhood, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like. And then it'll give you a clear, much more accurate evaluation of what your property is worth right now based on the market that we're in. That's how you deal with that. It's very similar to what we said to her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Never give them a price. And here's why. Even if it's a for sale by owner, and the for sale by owner says, come on in, okay? And let you walk through the property, and they're all going to look at you after you've looked at the property. Remember, there's only two things that a seller wants to know from us. Always remember this. Only two things. What's your commission? Number one. And how much is my house worth? Those are the only two things they want. Now, if you answer those questions at the door without seeing the property, and you say something like, well, you know, the average house prices in this area are selling for between $1 million and $1.1 million. I'm just making numbers up. Their house might not be worth that. It might be worth more than that. But the minute you give them a price, I can guarantee you that it's going to be less than what they think. Everybody thinks their house is worth this when it's worth that. Right or wrong. Everybody thinks their house is worth more. So the minute you give a price, they don't need to call you in anymore. They got out of you all they want. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm standing at your door. You ask me what our house price is selling for right now. What do you think my house is worth? I give you a number. They don't need to call you in anymore. That's it. They got out of you exactly what they want. Over. It's over. They'll never get in now. That's why you never give them a price. You need an appointment to come back with an evaluation that you can show them. And do your presentation as a listing agent would present to try and get a listing. Don't just give a price. And if they ask commission, If you're at the door, they're on the phone, either way, it doesn't matter. If they say, well, what's your commission? And I would look at them and I would say, or I would say on the phone, may I ask you, Mr. Seller, when you decide to list your property and get it sold, who you list it with, are you going to make that decision based on the commission alone? I mean, the commission has nothing to do with how much money I can sell your house for. You know that. No matter what a real estate agent charges in commission, it doesn't change the value of what a house is worth. So, let's start with this. Let me come and do the evaluation for you and give you an idea exactly the true value of your property in today's market. And then we can talk commission. There's no point talking commission because, and always ask that question. Are you going to make the decision on who you decide to list with? Purely based on the commission they charge. Because let me tell you, there's an awful lot of real estate agents out there that charge nothing. They'll say, I'll do it for free. Buy from me and I'll do it for free. And they don't sell the house. If you follow what I'm saying. So, I don't know if that helps you. Yes or no?
Yeah.
That was a weak yes. You said.
After the evaluation, if we still want a lower commission, how do we deal with it?
Well, the whole thing is this, okay? Every situation is different. I don't know what your office policies are. That's something for you and Sammy to talk about. But remember this. If what they're looking for, always refer it to the discount real estate agent. If what they're looking for is a discount brokerage or a discount real estate agent, let me tell you, once again, what they're doing is they're putting their property on the market with somebody who's not going to have any interest in marketing that property at all. Because I've reduced my commission by 1%, 1.5%. Remember, they would take all of your money if you would allow them to have it. They don't want you to get one nickel. Understand that. That's the case in every situation. You have to prove to people that you are worth the commission you're asking. There's some people, to be honest with you, aren't worth 5%. I wouldn't pay them 1% because they're dishonest, they don't know what they're doing. So there are people in the real estate business that I wouldn't even pay 1% to, kind of thing. But there are experts in this business that deserve every dime of the 5% commission that we choose, that most charge. So, first thing you do when someone talks commission, again, you don't do this at the door. Make sure you don't do this at the door. You do not do this on the phone. The only time you talk commission is when you're sitting across the table doing an evaluation and trying to get a listing out of them. There's no point in me talking commission if they have no idea, no intention of selling their property. There's no point in talking commission. Okay? So always remember that. The time to talk commission is now. I'm hoping to get the listing, and the difference between me getting the listing and not getting the listing is 1%. I'm making numbers up. They want 4% instead of 5%. They want 3.5% instead of 5%. But it's the difference between getting a listing and not getting a listing. To just talk commission with somebody that's not going to list with you, no. Don't. Okay? But when I'm sitting across the table and they're trying to negotiate commission with me when I'm trying to get a listing, turn it into money. Because what they're really saying, if it's $1 million home and it's 1%, they want to go 4% instead of 5%, they're talking $10,000. So when someone says, well, I had an agent here last week or last month, and they said they would do it for 4%. Always remember, when you hear someone give you an objection, like just now, what I just demonstrated, the first thing you do is pause. Whenever you hear an objection, pause. Look at them like I'm looking at you, shake your head and pause. Don't be too quick to respond. They say this, you say that. They say this, you say that. Because then it can become a fight. Okay? And remember, closing is learning to ask questions. It's questioning. It's not making statements. Okay, so when they say, I had a guy here last week or last month and he said he would do it for 4%. So what you're telling me, Mr. Seller, is you want $10,000 more. I mean, we're looking at, you've already given them the price, okay? I'm choosing the number $1 million. You've already talked price. This is now at the end of your presentation. This should not be talked about at the beginning. So again, I'm talking commission only when I'm sitting across the table from someone doing evaluation. I've done my whole presentation. I've shown them how I'm going to market their property. I've shown them why they should list with me. I've shown them what I'm going to do online to get their listing sold. I talked about our company. I've talked about everything there is to talk about. I've gone through the CMA with them. I've talked price with them. And now we're trying to get them to sign the document. I'm trying to give you the chronological order of things. Now you're trying to get a signature from them. And the commission is holding you back because they want to do 4% and you want to get it at 5%. Or they want to do it at 3% and you want to do it at 5%. Now it's a difference between getting the listing and not getting the listing. So what you're saying to me, Mr. Seller, is you're hoping to get $10,000 more. Don't talk commission, talk money, because that's what it is. It's money. They're going to look at you and say, well, that's a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money. Again, always shake your head in a yes direction. Never don't shake. Don't be a no shaker. I keep saying it because I see real estate agents, you know, they'll be listening to somebody talk, a seller or a buyer talk, and I can see them doing this, and I want to take their head and stomp it and go, no. Truthfully. So always be a yes shaker, listen to what they say, and then say, you know, $10,000 is a lot of money. So you're right. It is a lot of money, Mr. Seller, but my job, I'm not buying the house. My job is I got to get a buyer to pay that. And if I can't get the buyer to pay $10,000, how do you think I'm ever going to get him to pay $1 million? You see, my job is to negotiate with the buyer. I'm not buying the property. You want to hire me to be able to negotiate the best price for you. The buyer has to pay that. That's how you deal with commission. You're not buying the house, you're selling the house. Now, the truth is, why do people, sellers, want your commission money? There isn't another profession out there. Profession, and this is a profession. Let's think about doctors, let's think about lawyers, let's think about accountants, let's think about dentists, let's think about family planners. I mean, any profession that you look at, where can a customer sit down with a lawyer and say, well, I'm not going to pay you $300 an hour to represent me on these charges. I'm only going to pay you $50 an hour. I'm only going to pay you $150 an hour. They'll just say, leave. There is no other profession other than this one where they want to get into your pocket. I don't care what profession they're in. Their boss, at the end of the week or the end of the month, they get their pay. The boss isn't saying, well, you know, I'm going to negotiate your money this week. I don't want to pay you the $1,000 a week that you're getting. I only want to pay you $500 this week. Are you okay with that? I mean, what you have to make them understand that your job is to sell the property, your job is to market the property, your job is to introduce buyers, to get buyers to negotiate. Your job is to negotiate the best dollar amount of money from customers. You're not buying it, you're selling it. Now, if they say, well, I've got somebody there who's going to do it for 4%, again, if they come back with that same objection and you're still trying to get the listing, say, I tell you what, let's put it on the market, because once you change the commission on the back, what you have to do now as an agent, instead of 5%, you're going to put 2 and 2 instead of 2.5 and 2.5 kind of thing, right? You're going to put Commission to selling broker, 2%. You're gonna divide it in half, right? That's what the listing is gonna show. If they want to do it at 3.5, you gotta go even lower than that. And what they're doing is they're creating a problem with the sale of their property already, because they're saying to everybody out there, everybody else is gonna pay you the money, but this guy won't pay you the money. So it makes real estate agents think, do I even wanna show this property? Because I can show the neighbor's house down the block and I'll get full commission. This one here is only gonna pay me 1.5%. The guy around the corner, I'm gonna get 2.5. I'll show that one first. So they have to understand what they're doing is creating a property that becomes stigmatized. You're stigmatizing the property. That's the same thing as when you overprice it. And you overprice it by too much. You know, with the market that we're in right now, it's hard to know when to overprice. But if you've got a property that's worth $1 million and somebody wants to list it at $1.5 million, that's 50% overpriced. That's overpriced. It's going to sit on the market. It's not going to sell at that price. And every time somebody sees the house and no offer comes in, it's like, what's wrong with that house? It's been on the market for 2 weeks, it's been on the market for a month, it's been on the market for 3 months, and there's no offers. Why is there no offers? People start talking about it, and what you're creating is a property with a stigma. They're just way overpriced. You see what I'm saying? Why? They shouldn't do that. So it's your job as a real estate agent to understand two things. One, you got to prove your worth. What you say you are. So when you come in and do an evaluation, what are you showing them? What does your listing presentation look like? What are you saying when you're sitting across the table? You know, that is going to judge. I wish I could, but if you sat in with some of the real estate agents that I have come across in my lifetime that are top-notch listers, and you saw their listing presentation, and you saw how they what they do when they sit across the table and how they manage that listing presentation, and then you evaluate your presentation kind of thing, and I'm not suggesting yours is not good, I'm just making a general statement here. Top real estate professionals don't have to reduce their commission. People want them to come and sell their house because they know they're the #1 agent in the area, they've worked this area for so long, that people seek them out. That's what you want to get to. That's why farming an area is so important. Sticking to the same area, becoming known as the guru, becoming known as somebody who really knows the market in that area, having a great presentation. Little by little over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So I don't know if that helped you, but that's basically what you got to do with the commission. You never talk commission. I would never talk commission over a phone. If I'm cold calling and they say, well, what's your commission? Again, is commission going to be the deciding factor in who you choose to list with? Well, yeah, commission's important. No problem at all. Let's make an appointment. Let me come over. Let me do the evaluation, and we'll talk commission. Always. Always, always, always. You don't talk commission unless you're sitting there trying to get a listing. Why am I talking commission if I'm not going to get a listing? Because once you start saying, you're farming an area, and you start saying to this neighbor, I'll do it for 4%, I'll do it for 3.5%. Neighbors talk to each other. Oh, you had him come? Oh, yeah, he told me 4%. What did he tell you? You don't want to, so you never talk commission unless you're closing to get a listing. Then you talk commission. That's the time to talk. Because remember, if I agree with you right now at the door that I will do it for 4%, I can guarantee you, like you see me standing before you right now, that when you do come for the listing appointment, they're going to want 3%. They're going to want even more because you already showed them that you're going to give them some money back, that you're going to cut your commission. You already showed them that. So they already know they can do it with you. And they're going to do it again. I guarantee you they're going to do it again. If they had their way, they'd pay 0 commission. And you know I'm right. I wish, I'm sorry, I had a real estate agent a few times say to me, I was at a listing appointment one time and the seller said to me, they'll do it for free, no commission. Serious. And I looked at the real estate agent and I said, you want me to show you what I would do? He said, yes. What would you do? Watch how I deal with that. Because I say, it's not just what you say, it's the way you sound, it's an act. You're on an Oscar here. This is a performance. Understand, it is. It is. Okay? So again, I would pause, and I would, you're the seller. You're pulling my leg. No. Really? Come on. And they're saying, yes. You had a real estate agent say they do it for free. Wow. Well, that sounds like too good to be true. I'm shocked. Let me tell you. Listen, I can understand. That sounds pretty enticing to me, but you know what they say, things that sound too good to be true usually are. But let me help you. Like, truthfully, let me help you. I can't do it for free. I got kids, I got a mortgage, I got car payments, I got bills. I'm sorry, but I have to work to earn a living. I can't work for free. I wish I could, but I can't. So, but here, let me help you out. Let me help you out. Because this really sounds too good to be true. You need to get a letter from that real estate agent on corporate letterhead, signed by the president or broker of record in that company with a corporate seal on it, that says that if you sell the property, doesn't matter what it sells for, the commission is free. You need to get that in writing. Then, hey, tell me who they are, I'll list my house with them. That's what I would do, is what I told him when he said he had someone who said free. What you have to understand, I call this is going to sound silly, but bear with me. What you have to learn in this business is what we call slap and tickle. Does that sound silly? What do I mean by slap and tickle? In other words, what I mean by slap is telling them the truth. People don't like to hear the truth. You know I'm right. Doesn't matter what it is. People don't like to hear the truth unless the truth is what they want. But most of the time they don't like to hear the truth. So when I say slap, I mean tell them the truth. When I mean tickle, I mean soften it. If you follow what I'm saying. So what you have to learn to do is when you're about to give someone information that is true, that they may not like to hear, like I can't do it for nothing. What I did was, you notice how I interjected humor there. You're pulling my leg. See, that's the tickle. Come on, no, really? They told you that? Oh my God. You see how I did that? That's the tickle part. The tickle part is, boy, I can understand why you would be enticed with that. I can understand why you would feel excited about that. You see, that's the tickle. But the slap is, I can't do it for nothing. You know, I got bills to pay, I got a mortgage, I got like anybody else. And then let me help you out. This is what you need. The letter, the seal, you know, what I went through there is proving to them, I want to help you out. And the reality was, it's too good to be true. That's why you need to make sure you get it in writing, because this just sounds too good to be true. Nobody works for nothing. Right? So, in any situation when you're always trying to give people the truth, meaning the truth about what their home is worth, you know, the truth about what it takes to get a property, no matter what, you know, the truth. You're always trying to give them the truth, but you always have to remember that they probably aren't going to like it, most of the time. Especially when it deals with commission and the value of a home, whether they're buying it or selling it. So I hope that helps you. So always remember, you've got to use your body language, You gotta use your humor properly. You've gotta soften what you say by the slap and tickle concept that I just introduced to you, because that's what's gonna make people easier to accept what you're saying when you're not saying, well, I can't sell it for that kind of money. Or, there's no way I'm gonna do it for 4%, you know. You're not gonna get anybody who's gonna do a good job at 4%. You see, if I make statements that completely discredit what you're saying, that's just gonna enrage you more. That's just gonna make you more defiant. That's just gonna make you more stubborn. Right? It's not gonna solve the problem. So what you have to do is all of our job as real estate agent, our job is one thing, to be able to reach inside their brain and change their thinking without them losing face. You've heard me say this before if you've attended my sessions in the past. Your job, our job as real estate professionals is to get them to see the light without them being wrong and you being right. You follow what I mean? Nobody wants, oh, he knows more than me, she knows more than me. He's right, I'm wrong. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to prove you right, meaning homeowners, buyers. Does that make sense? So you always have to have that in the back of your mind. How can I say what I want to say without making them feel uncomfortable and making them, at least what you got to get them to do is rethink. That's what you're trying to get. Because then, here's what you're doing. When you're getting them to think, because of the way you phrased it and the way you introduced it to them, what they're doing now, if it's like list price kind of thing, what you're doing is you're softening their stance. So they may have wanted $1.3 million, it's only worth $1 million, they're 300,000 higher, and the way you've presented your information to them makes them think, you know? They won't say, well, you know, you're right. What they will do now is, instead of $1.3 million, maybe it's $1.2 million. You've got them down a little bit, if you follow what I'm saying. So that's what you're always trying to do, little by little by little. Sometimes it might take me 4 times to come to your house to get you to realize we got to get it at this price. You follow what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to go back again and again and again. In this business, you never give up. Everybody's different. Some people, it's quicker. Other people, it takes longer. The most important thing is that you understand you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. You want people to feel relaxed with you. You want people to trust you. You want people to believe that you are the right person. You want to prove to them that you know what you're doing. That's why you want to have great materials. Your presentation has to look good. You have to rehearse it. You have to know what you're saying. You have to be comfortable with your verbiage. Again and again and again. It's like anything else. It's like practice, drill, rehearse. Practice, drill, rehearse. And that's why I like going on listing appointments. That's why I say real estate agents, my goal was always to have 1 listing appointment every single day. Because when people would come to me, I'm no good at listing. I can't tell you how many times I heard that in my lifetime. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that. I'd say, how long have you been in the business? They'd say, well, 2 years. I'd say, okay. Or 10 years, doesn't matter. I'd say, how long have you been in the business? They'd say 2 years. I'd say, in 2 years, truthfully, how many listing appointments have you been on? Where you've sat face to face across the table from a client. How many appointments have you been on? What kind of number do you think I hear all the time? Most of the time. 0. Actually, it's almost that. Not quite. I'll get numbers like 4. And I say, okay, let's be realistic here. I always like to compare a real estate agent to an athlete because it's competitive. An athlete is competitive. Our business is highly competitive. So do you think somebody who's a basketball player who only ever tried to get a ball in a basket 4 times could ever be able to be a professional basketball player? They've only played basketball 4 times in their entire lifetime, and they want to be hired by the NBA. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's practice, drill, rehearse, practice, drill, rehearse. So now, if you say to me, and I ask you, how long you been in the business? 2 years. How many listing appointments you been on in those 2 years? Don't lie, give me the truth, I don't care what the number is. And they say to me, 50 times, okay. Now we've got somebody who's got a problem because they've been out there 50 times and nothing's happened for them, if you follow what I'm saying. But when you tell me 4 times, I expect that. You're normal. I expect that. You got to go again, try again, and try again, and try again, and try again. You get better and better and better and better and better each time you go out there. Each time you perfect your presentation, you perfect your style, you perfect your language, you perfect. It's all about perfection. It's not about getting 100% success every time you're out there. You know that. So that's why it's a numbers game, this industry, and that's why the most important part is making sure that you have the numbers on your side. If not, the only reason you're not getting listings is you haven't been out on enough appointments, would be my answer to you. If you came to me and said, I'm no good at listing, how many times have you been out? 4 times? Well, of course you're not going to get it. I wish you could see how many times I went out before I finally got listings. There isn't a real estate agent walking the planet that gets listings every time they go out there. I don't care how good they are, right? Everybody's going to lose at some point. Did I help? Any other questions, struggles, pressures? How do I deal with this? Yes?
We were talking about resales. So do you have any courses online for the pre-constructions? Because there are so many projects on the market.
Yes.
Yeah, like everybody wants to invest and earn money.
In
Like,
pre-construction?
Yes, yes.
Do I have any courses on pre-construction?
Yeah.
No, I don't. And I'll be honest with you, the best person to deal with pre-construction in here is your own broker of record. I mean, he's the expert in pre-construction. I'm not. Okay, what I can do, okay, because all of you have access to a number of buildings.
Yes.
So there's lots of property that you have access to that they're trying to sell. The question is, are you getting leads from those? How are they distributing the leads? Because if you want to specialize, and I do know some real estate agents who specialize in pre-construction, here's the advice that I can give you. If that's the direction you want to go in, I want to be a pre-construction expert. Okay? If that's what you want to do, then you have to decide, is it all Toronto that you're going to try and do pre-construct, or is it going to be just Markham and Richmond Hill and Thornhill? You got to choose, or is it going to be downtown? Where are you going to specialize in terms of your pre-construction? And then what you should do is start off with get a website. Say, okay, I'm just making this up. I'm going to do downtown Toronto. I'm making this up. I'm going to do downtown Toronto pre-construction. So now what you want to do is you want to create a website, a pre-construction investment, condo investment website for the downtown Toronto. And now you break it up into areas, the waterfront, the financial district, the entertainment district. You follow what I'm saying? You break it up into areas. And you say, okay, the financial district, we're talking King Street, Bay Street. Here are the buildings in the financial district, this building, this building, this building, this building, this building, this. You have a list of 5 or 10 buildings, and that give them information about each building. So what I'm saying to you is, if you want to be in the pre-construction industry, and that's the area of expertise that I want to go down, then you need to build a website and you need to start to market yourself in that way. And it starts with getting the most important thing is to find your area of expertise and then to build a website around that expertise and your social media around that. And then getting leads from people who are looking for pre-construction. I was at an office not that long ago where someone was asking me, she was getting a lot of leads. She was in pre-construction, and she was saying, look, I don't have a problem with leads. She says, I get 100 leads every month, pre-construction, people who are thinking about investing, right? I get, you know, more, 100, sometimes more in a month. And she said, my problem is converting these leads. And I said to her, okay, let's do a role play. Let's role play. How do you deal with that lead that you have? And she said, okay. I said, so let's role play. And I said, call me, because you got the lead, it's on a piece of paper, you know, they filled out online, call me. She said, okay, ring, ring, ring. And I'm being her now. And she said, is this Gabrielle? Yes, it is. And she said, I have some information that you were interested in our Skymark building. I'm making names up, okay? You were interested in our Skymark building. What kind of information are you looking for? Is what she asked, and I said, time out. Already, you started off on the wrong foot. You see, I would never start that way. And I said, let me tell you why you don't want to start that way. Because what you are now, when you do that, when you ask them, what information do you want? It automatically puts them in control. That's a clerk. You go into a store, you know? Ladies, you know what I mean? When the ladies come up to you and say, can I help you? Or are you looking for something for a special occasion? And you say, no, I'm just looking. How many times have you said that in your lifetime? Right? You've done exactly the same thing. Right there. When you do that. So I said, here's how I would handle that. I'd say, is this Gabrielle? Yes, it's Gabrielle. Gabrielle, I know you were on our website, or you were at one of our events, and you were interested in the Skymark building. Before I talk to you about that building, I just want you to know that I have access to about 25 buildings right now, pre-construction buildings, in my portfolio that I can talk to you about. So do you mind if I ask you a few questions before we talk about this one building that you came to? You see, now I'm saying I have access to about 20 buildings. And some are better than the other. Some have more incentives than the other. So if you don't mind, can we talk a little bit about exactly what it is you're looking for, so I can talk to you about the best building that I think matches what you're looking for. It might not be Skymark. You see what I'm doing here? Very different. What I'm doing now is I'm showing you that I have, wow, she knows what she's talking about here. She's got 20 buildings that she can talk to me about. And not all buildings offer the same incentives. Some are better than others, you know, so let's find out exactly what's important to you. So, I don't know if that helps you. So if you're thinking about doing pre-construction, then understand it's very difficult to try and do both and do it well. I'm not saying if you meet somebody and they want to invest in a pre-construction building that you should never sell them. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if you want to, with real estate is all about specialization. In order to really, really excel in this business, in order to really take your business to the next level, the most important thing is that you have a system and you work your system. And that means you got to know what exactly market that I want to become an expert in. You can't be an expert in the whole city of Toronto, in all areas of real estate. You weaken yourself. You can't do that. It's just like the medical profession, you know, he's a heart surgeon, he's a brain surgeon, he's an internist, you know what I'm saying? Same thing. Lawyers the same thing, dentists the same thing, accountants the same thing, real estate the same thing. That help?
Yes, thank you.
You haven't asked one question. You have any needs, questions? Later.
I can't think of any yet.
You can't think of any yet. That either means one of two things.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick on you now for a moment.
I have been taking clients for showing for at least 3 months,
Uh-huh.
and they were buying and selling, right?
The same client was buying a house and selling their own.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. So they they have so many different requirements and
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of stuff, and then still asking for kickback and all sorts of stuff. Like they want everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to handle.
Mm-hmm. So, let me ask a couple of questions, okay? Is this the only client you're working with?
I don't know.
No. Okay, good. You shouldn't be investing all your time with just one person, okay? That's why I'm asking. Your goal in this business is to constantly be looking to build your pipeline of more people, more people, more people. That's where the majority of your time should be spent, not working with this customer. I just want to be clear on that. Next question with this couple. How did you meet these people?
Friends referral.
A referral.
Yeah.
Very good. And how did the referral come to you? Did the other did the other client that you have that referred you said, oh, John over here
Yeah.
is thinking about selling his house?
Yeah.
And he gave you his phone number and you called him? Or how did that happen?
They call me.
They called you.
Yeah.
So the friend said, you call my friend,
Yeah.
he's a good real estate guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And why are they selling and making a change? What's the reason?
They have been running their business for a couple of years, and then they probably making some money, and then trying
Okay.
to move up, right?
Okay, so they want to move up.
Yeah.
Good. Their business is successful. They've made some money.
Yeah.
And they think they can now afford to move up.
Yeah.
And what is their biggest concern about when you're showing them houses? They want to buy first
Yeah.
and then sell.
Yes.
They want to do that. Are they planning on putting an offering conditional on the sale of their house?
No.
No. So they can afford to buy with no conditions.
I think so.
You don't know. Have you addressed that with them?
I have been putting an offer for them for.
No, that's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, have you talked to them about buying first and an offer? What if they can't sell their own house and they've now made a commitment financially to buy this other property and the offer is accepted, if you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have you addressed that potential problem? I know the market is
Yeah.
hot.
I told them. I mentioned that.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
And
they will, because I asked them to ask the bank what kind of thing they can do, or like the bridge loan or whatsoever.
okay. Here again, see, one of the problems I'm hearing here is you're letting them dictate to you, and all you're doing is supporting it. Go to your bank and see if they'll do this for you. That's where you come in. It's you that should be making sure you have the financing assistance in place for them to know that if something happens and they don't get their own home sold, here's a company. Because let me tell you, getting bridge loans and owning two houses, that's not an easy thing to get banks to agree with, especially with the stress tests that we've got. Okay, so if they tell me, oh yeah, I've talked to them, I in here and out here, I don't believe it. I just want to make sure you understand that. I don't believe it. It's our job to make sure that this client is protected, that this client understands that, they could be faced with a situation where they're with two houses. I'm not trying, Mr. Seller, I just want to make sure you're totally aware of this, okay? We can't go in with a condition today on the sale of a property because no one's going to accept an offer like this in the market that we're in. We all know that. That's why what they should be doing is putting their own house on the market and having a long closing. And I have no doubt that we'll be able to find. When you say they keep wanting to see more and they keep coming up with more and more and more and more and more, what do you mean by more and more and more and more? Give me an idea of what you're talking about.
They ask.
The house doesn't have, the kitchen's too small, the backyard isn't big enough. Is that what you're talking about, this kind of stuff, more and more and more? They come up with the reasons why they don't like this particular property?
They like it, but because nowadays it's really popular that houses are listed below the market value, right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
And then they just going to offer the full price and then 2 times with the offer,
Yes.
it was like
Mhm.
at least 150 more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they were shocked, but still they wouldn't willing to go for a higher price.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's gonna be the way it is, it almost, most of the way the market is right now.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah, I told
these,
them.
how many offers did you have with this client? That were 2. I'm not trying to put you off, but remember, every time you have an offer that isn't accepted and they lose it, they lose faith in you a little bit. And then a second time, I'm just saying, even though it's not your fault, okay, I'm not saying it's your fault, I'm just trying to help you understand their thinking, okay, because their thinking is not correct, okay, understand that. So, but every time you lose a deal and they don't get it, they start to question, do I have the right guy? So you have to be very careful with how you deal with them. Are you going out and inspecting houses before you show them?
No.
Okay,
Sometimes it's just, they track it online, right? And
Yeah.
then tell me they want to see that house.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How badly do they want to move?
Not really.
Why do you say that?
The house, they have enough space for themselves, but they just got the money to invest.
Mhm.
Potentially, they would prefer to hold 2 houses,
Oh, keep the one they have,
Yeah,
rent it out,
80% possible.
and buy another one. Okay, so what you've got here is a double A buyer, not a triple A.
Yeah.
A double A buyer is someone who's buying for an investment. They want a second property. Yes, they're gonna move to the other one, but there's nothing pushing them out the door of the one that they're in. It's a nice house, it's in a nice area, I'm making this up. It's not too big, it's not too small. They just are doing better in their business and they think they can afford a bigger house. But they're trying to get a bigger house for not much more than what their own is worth. Is that correct?
Kind of, yeah, kind of.
So my advice to you on this client, okay, is number 1, move, you don't need to dump them, but don't focus on them.
Yeah.
Don't focus on them, okay? What you have to try and do is explain to them what, more about what's happened. Like, I don't know how much you've told them about the market, and they can see how many times offers are competing again and again and again. So have you verbally asked them, like, if what you're looking for, role-playing with you, let me ask the question, Mr. Seller, if what you're looking for is to be able to find a house where you can just go in full price and have it accepted,
Yeah.
your chances of finding that today are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And what they have to understand is they can't wait for the market to change to be what they want it to be.
Yeah.
Because waiting is just going to make it, like,
Higher.
the prices are just escalating. While you're thinking about it, while you're stalling, while you're hoping to find the miracle property kind of thing,
Yeah.
prices are just getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And so what you got to do is buy, and the market will, the money that you think you're losing because they want to save that, they don't want to pay the extra $100,000 to get it. They're actually losing because the price of that property is going to exceed that by the time they move in. If you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? Because
They're
house
just
prices
hoping
are going
for
up
too
10 to 15% right now. So this $100,000, which is 10%, by the time you move in, that property is going to be worth. So what's the most important thing for you, Mr. Buyer? Is the most important thing for you to get to another house that's bigger in a better area that you're going to enjoy, or is it getting it for full price and not having to pay over asking? Because the bottom line is, I don't care if you wait another year, you're going to still be faced with the same thing, because that's the direction of this market. And it's going to be that way for a long time. I don't see this ending right away. Unless we have some major catastrophe globally, if you know what I'm saying, that will force prices to change. Toronto, the prediction of what's happening with the Toronto market over the next 5 to 10 years is population is skyrocketing. It's just immigration here. People don't want to move to the US anymore the way they used to. Everybody wanted to go there, go there, go there. Look at the real estate prices in the United States compared to the real estate prices here. There's no comparison for the most part, except for a few areas. California, you know, that sort of thing. So you need to really work with them more in terms of explaining, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, move on, find somebody else.
Thank you.
You know, I don't know if I helped there, because it's a common problem that you get. Most are like that. They always want to get more than, that's why what's important is the why, the why, the why.
Always look for a
Why
deal.
do they want to go from here to there? If the why isn't strong enough, you're going to have you're going to have resistance.
Yeah.
But if somebody has to move, they're in a crowded space, they're uncomfortable, you know, they're transferred, whatever it is. If their reasons are important, then it's going to make a difference for you. You happen to have a client who doesn't even want to sell his own house. He really just wants to, invest into another property, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a question at the back, Ellen? Yeah.
I got a similar situation.
You have.
But that's-
Everybody has
No,
his
no,
clients.
The result is, if the market is too hot, they're gonna back off, because that's, you think now it's not the best time for investment. So,
Always remember the saying
Yeah.
when it comes to real estate.
yeah,
If you're waiting for the timing to be better, you're never gonna catch up, if you follow what I'm saying. What you need to do is you need to buy, and the market is just gonna take care of you, because the prices are going up.
for people who want to investment, they always think there's a ratio, would you put in the money, the buy and sell ratio, no, buy and rent ratio. So there's always figure in their mind, they will quickly calculate it's worse or not. So this is kind of bar for them,
It's kind of what?
a bar
A bar, okay.
benchmark.
Yeah.
Even for me, I don't want to buy an expensive investment property for them and then renting for less, So that's why I'm pretty careful, because, those are my friends. I don't want to destroy the relationship, long-term
Oh
relationship.
boy, do I ever hear that, do I hear this?
So you want to be a best advisor for them, meanwhile, keep a good relationship and keep your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the best wish. Hot market is
Yes,
very.
sometimes though, okay, always, that's why I have always said the hardest deal you will ever make in your lifetime is a deal with a friend,
Yeah.
because of exactly what you said, because you are not being a real estate agent, you're being a friend here. Hold on, okay, let me finish. Remember that, okay? Here's what you also have to understand, okay? Of course you don't want to put your friend into a situation where they're buying more than they can afford. Nobody wants that. And your job is to reassure them, that's not who I am, that's not what I'm going to try and do. I want you to invest your money wisely, and I want to make sure that your equity is going to be in an area that's going to grow, okay? So, most important thing that they understand is what they pay today and what it's going to be worth 5 years. How long are they going to hold on to it? Ask them that. How long are you planning on holding on to this investment? Are you going to have it for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How long do you think you're going to hold on to it? Ask those questions. And they say, well, I don't know. So let me ask you this question then. If they say, well, I don't want to sell it at all, I'll probably keep it. I'm going to keep it forever, for a long time. Or for 5 years, or for 10 years. Always understand what they paid. Let's look at what properties were worth 10 years ago in Toronto. Okay? $700,000, $600,000, $500,000, whatever. 10 years ago, you could have bought this house for $575,000. This same house 10 years ago. Look what it's worth today, $1.2 million. 1,300,000, $1,000,000, whatever it is, okay? So my question is, 10 years ago, if you would have paid $50,000 more, back to his point, $100,000 more, would you be upset the fact that you paid, instead of getting it for $500,000, you had to pay $600,000, but today it's doubled? Would it bother you? That's what you have to do. You have to make people see the big picture. What you're focusing on too much is worried about losing a friend rather than looking at the big picture. Because let me tell you, truthfully, if you were my best friend and I had to push you, I know you can afford this, I know you can, this is not too much for you, you could afford this. If I had to push you a little bit to help you make that decision, to know that I've doubled your money in the next 5, 10 years, I'm not going to look at you and think I've done the wrong thing. The only time I would worry about it is if I think the market is changing and maybe it's going to take a nosedive. Then you should be concerned. But right now, look at what all the predictions are over the next 5 to 10 years in the city of Toronto. What are they expecting? They're talking about over the next 10 years look what it costs in New York City to buy a condo in downtown New York, in Manhattan. Rentals in Manhattan. Okay, other places like Hong Kong and other places in the world where the price of real estate is way higher. We're cheap. We are. So what you've got to do is you've got to build that strength within them, the confidence in these clients, that they believe in the market the opportunity that they have with the market they have. You cannot be, oh, well, they're a friend, I don't want to upset them, I don't want them to get angry with me. Of course you don't want them to get angry with you, but you also want them to see the big picture. You want them to realize what you're really trying to do. I mean, I had some friends years ago, and let me tell you, I had to push it so hard. He owns about 10 houses right now. 5 of them I sold him. And let me tell you, I'm gonna bring you, gotta buy it. I'm serious. He was a buddy. I've known him from the time I was, 8 years old. I knew this family, this guy. He was my first little boyfriend when I was 10. So he was like a brother to me. But truthfully, you know the kind of money he's worth today? And every time I see him, I say, remember those times? So my point is, you have to know when you're being too much of a friend and not enough of a real estate professional. A real estate professional is not going to try to sell somebody something they don't want. They're nervous. They're nervous. These people that you're talking about. Of course they are. When did they buy the house that they're in? Question. The one that they're in right now.
2012.
2012 to,
Yeah.
let's say 2013 in the middle.
I
Okay,
tell them.
okay. Then here's another thing.
What's it called?
Did they pay full price for the house they're in? Or did they pay over?
I don't know.
That's a question you should ask. Okay, or do some research online. If it was MLS,
Search it.
search it, okay? Now, let's say they paid full price for that. The house that they bought in 2013, we know they paid, what, $700,000, whatever, I'm making numbers up. And today it's worth this.
Yeah.
Did they make a bad decision? Are you sorry you made that decision? No. So what you have to do, you see what I'm saying? You really have to work with people because everyone's nervous. Our job as professionals is to, A, understand the market that you're in right now, understand the benefits of the market that we're in right now, understand the advantages of why it's a good time to invest. And it doesn't matter that house prices, that they have to, put an offer in higher than list price today to get one. The point is, house prices are rising on average 10% right now, 15% 1 year over another. They're rising 10 to 15%. They're saying we're going back to what the market was in 2016.
Not that hot, but it's pretty hot.
It's-
Almost every house is bidding more.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is their concern is they don't, they're worrying for nothing is what I'm trying to say.
Right now.
They're worrying for nothing.
From
And why are, or is it just because, look, everybody wants to get a good deal. And some people it's just about, you don't pay full price for anything. You have to negotiate. You follow what I'm saying? That's the way they were raised. It's the way they were brought up. They go to the open market. How much you want for that? You want $10 for that? I'll give you $5. I mean, that's what they were raised with.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, real estate isn't like that.
Every house they like, they
So,
wanna.
and that's what you gotta say to people. You gotta remind people, this is not like buying vegetables between you and me in the four walls. I would not say that to them, but it's not like buying vegetables. It's not like buying clothing. It's not like buying furniture.
But sometimes when.
Very different. Real estate is very different in that regard. Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Yeah, so every house, every offer, they wanna put a 50,000 down. For the.
Less.
Less than the.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Otherwise, you, to them, you are not the best agent. They can find anywhere somebody can negotiate for them. So that's.
Well,
pressure on
then
you, 'cause you are new.
try this,
Yeah,
okay? The area that they're looking in,
yeah,
whatever that area is,
yeah.
okay? Let's take the last 6 months, the last year. Every house that sold in that area, okay? I'm role playing with you. This is the area you want, and I understand, you're thinking that unless I can get you this house for $50,000 less than list price, I'm not doing a good job. Well, let's take a look at what has sold, not me, the industry has sold in this area in the last year. There's been 15 sales, whatever. There's been 20 sales. Not one of them has sold for $50,000 less than asking price. You follow what I'm saying? You have to back up. You have to prove to them. It's always about proof. The more you can do that, the better it is. I understand that your client is different than a Canadian, okay? Because you're dealing with Chinese people, okay? And they're different than the Canadian population and the way they buy. I understand that. I've sold an awful lot of Chinese. I've sold an awful lot in my lifetime. I've sold an awful lot of every nationality you can think of. And I understand that the Canadian population, or the North American, if you will, are used to going to a store and paying $10 and you pay $10. They're not used to bargaining. We go to the Bay, the ticket price says $100, you pay the $100, that's it. Or you buy a sale item, it's a different story. The one thing that Chinese people believe in is real estate. There's no question they believe in real estate. 100%. They want to help their kids get a home. They believe in real estate, and they are not afraid to invest in real estate. They want to. They have to understand that their investment is secure. And they're losing by not doing something right now. Waiting another year, they're going to buy the same house for $150,000, $200,000 more. So what are they doing? They're not saving money. They're losing money, in fact. So what they should do is let time be on their side instead of them trying to play the time game, waiting for the prices to come down or waiting for them to be able to negotiate. What they're doing is playing the time game. What they need to do is understand, buy and let the time be on their side. That's why people are buying pre-construction. Why else are they buying pre-construction? Most of them are buying pre-construction to flip. You tell me if I'm wrong. They buy now, 4 years later, this same unit is going to be worth $200,000 more or something more. A lot of them are not even going to live in it. They're not even going to rent it. They're just going to flip it. Same thing. That's what you have to explain to them. Let time be on your side rather than play the time game and waiting for time to come to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, understand.
Anyways, yes, sir.
So you mentioned the prediction, but the thing is why she is scared, but not so much confident, because prediction is it will happens or not happens. Like 2016-17 grew so much. At that moment, I'm not yet a realtor. May I know what's the prediction happens at that time?
Well, good question, okay? You see, that is part of your job, all of you, okay? Is you need to be monitoring the market, okay? And how do you monitor the market? Well, number one, the longer you're in the market, the more you get to learn about the market. But number one, you know, making sure that every month you're reviewing the Market Watch, Toronto Real Estate Board, and analyzing it and learning how to analyze it. And go online and start researching. Go to Google and do some, you know, Google alerts. You know, set up some Google alerts where Google emails you information on a subject. You know, so search real estate prices in Toronto over the next 10 years. There's all kinds of data out there that you can review and read and start to accumulate and start to, you know, make photocopies of, or, you know, have a part of your presentation. Here's one article from the Star, here's another one from the Globe, here's another one from the Huffington Post, here's another one from, you know, whatever other publication there is, you know, showing them what the prices of predictions are for prices in Toronto over the next 5 to 10 years. What I'm saying is there's all kinds of data to support that. So what you need to do is find it, Google, very quick, spend an hour on the computer, you'll have all the information you want. Choose the ones that you want, and then use it as part of your presentation. I hope that helps you.
Yeah.
So, talking about market, I want to know your opinion. In 1 or 2 years in downtown Toronto, what's the condo price will be? Because last 2 years, the condo's price is like rocket compared to townhouse or detached.
It's because it's affordable.
Yeah, because it's affordable. But the gap now is getting closer.
Closer,
Yeah.
yes.
So what do you think about in 1 or 2 years?
I think they're just going to keep going up.
like the same.
Still,
I think we're going to see rising, escalating prices. I think personally, and no one has a crystal ball. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Las Vegas and gamble on my prediction here. But I believe, based on everything that I've been reading, and the fact that there's so much immigration coming in, and the immigration is from a lot of, and so much foreign investment as well. I mean, when you think about the amount of foreign investment that's here, it's just, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to scare you people, but, you know, this concern with this virus in China and all the nerves that, trust me, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to leave there and come here. They already got friends and whatnot here. So that immigration is just going to be, or they're going to want to buy real estate here, get their kids to come here. You know I'm right with that. All it's doing is helping investment here. So all these different factors. So I think house prices and condo prices are going to continue to escalate. I don't know how far next year, what prices are, but they're talking anywhere between 10 and 15% over this year, that prices are going to be up by 10 or 15% a year from now. So that's what I'm hearing and what I'm reading again and again and again.
but do you think the other side, affordability?
I'm sorry?
Do you think the other side?
Affordability.
Yeah, like income, annual income 80,000.
Well, if you're looking at first-time buyers, affordability is an issue.
80,000 young man, young guy, like wage at 80,000, and annually they can't afford renting a one-bedroom at.
They're going to have to move they're going to have to move farther away. I mean, I understand your point. What your point is if the market gets so high that it eliminates a whole population of people who can afford it, is what you're saying, how can prices keep going up? I think that's what you're driving at, am I right?
Downtown, you say downtown Toronto.
Everywhere. I mean, let me tell you, Mississauga, where I live,
Uh-huh.
you can't rent anything in this, if we're just looking at rental prices, you can't rent anything in Mississauga that's a decent 2-bedroom for less than $2,000 a month either.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, truthfully, it's not just downtown, it's, you know, the GTA, if you will. So people are gonna have to go further out. Or they're gonna have to rent with other people. They're gonna have to, you know, have buddies move in with them, sisters, brothers, whatever. They're gonna have to have more than one person helping them to afford it. That's not gonna change anything. I mean, again, I go back to New York City. The average rental in New York City is about $5,000-6,000 a month.
But it's not
So-
comparable with New York City. We have a strong industry to support the.
So does Toronto.
Toronto?
I mean, the Toronto is less
And not less
competitive
than
than New York.
GDP, Toronto.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, an average condo in New York, you're looking at, in some cases, $30, $40, $50 million for a condo, depending on where it is. I mean, the prices are crazy. All I'm trying to say, look at the difference. So what I'm saying is that, you know, you have to start like, you're thinking like a buyer, you're not thinking like a real estate agent.
Yeah, I'm very considerate.
Yeah, you're thinking like a buyer.
I'm not.
And that's not a good thing when you're a real estate agent. You have to think like a real estate agent. You have to detach yourself from being the buyer, because that's going to hold you back.
I'm an investor, actually.
Well,
I'm
there you go.
Rather myself as an investor.
There you go. Then if you're an investor, you should be buying more. You should be buying more. But all I'm trying to say is understand there's a difference between being the customer and being the real estate agent. You are being a customer when you're dealing with a client. You can't be a customer when you deal with a client. You have to be honest. You have to be ethical. You have to be fair, good faith, and full disclosure. But you also have to understand this business. Not from the point of view of a buyer who wants to be able to find a hot deal that I can buy and flip and make some money on. I mean, hey, that's beautiful if you could find that for someone. But you also have to understand the reality of what the real estate market is all about. The reality is this. And you know I'm right.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
I'm always like a.
Yeah, no, I understand it.
my
And that's where your struggle is going to be.
Yeah.
That's where your struggle. I can remember a young guy that he was a teacher, and he was a new agent with me. And same thing. There was a house that he got on the market. It was in the Eglinton and Mount Pleasant area, Leaside, very, very, very big, strong area, as you know. And it was run down. I can't remember what it sold for, but it sold for this price because it needed total renovation. Someone bought it, okay, and he double-ended it. And the guy put work into it, never moved into it, and then sold it. He was sold it for, a huge profit. It bothered him for like a whole year that these couple that owned it, oh my God, they could have got more. I said, what the hell are you doing, man? So you gotta, that's an exaggeration, but it's a true story. Remember, you can't be in a customer's shoes when you're the real estate agent.
Yeah, I treat my buyer like myself.
Yeah,
I'm looking for a good house just like I work for myself. So it doesn't bother me like that.
But if you were buying a house for yourself right now, you're not going to be able to buy anything $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 below list price.
I try to find a good deal for them, just like do that for myself. But you're right. If for myself, I can make any mistake. I can suck it.
Eat
But
it yourself.
For my husband, we made a mistake. I can suck it. But I don't want mistake.
Then all I'm
others.
saying to you is you can continue doing this, and there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you're doing. You're limiting the amount of sales and deals you'll ever make in your lifetime because you're looking for that golden ticket.
Yeah.
Is what you're looking for. And when you're looking for the golden ticket, you're limiting your success because I'm not saying you're never going to find them, but in a year you might find one. You're lucky to find two. For you to find two in a year, like bargain basement deals where someone is really going to get a good deal, if that's all you're looking for, you're going to struggle your whole time in real estate. So you have to come to terms with that. Selling them fair market value. That's what you're trying to do. That's what you're trying to do. If this property is worth $1 million too, that's what your job is to sell it for what it's worth. Your job is not to try and sell this for less money than what it's worth. You have to understand that. That's what it is. And the same thing, these clients are going to have to pay fair market value. Why would anybody want to sell their property for X amount less when they know they can get fair market value from somebody else? Right? Yes.
I have a question. From time to time, when I talk with the client, talk a lot. The family, he likes this property, but finally he told me his partner, either her husband or his wife, for some reason not like it. They just stop there. How can I do?
Oh, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. What you have to do here is you're taking both of them out at the same time. Is this a buy or a sell?
It's bad.
It's a buy.
Sometimes I'm seller. Sometimes I.
No, but you're talking about, are you talking about a specific client right now or generally?
I met 2 clients in the past half year.
Okay, and the wife doesn't want it and the husband does?
Yeah, one.
Or it's the other way around? The wife wants it and the husband doesn't?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
You're taking them out at the same time and showing them at the same time. Am I right?
Mainly, I just talk with one.
Well, there's your problem.
Oh.
There's your problem.
You mean in the beginning should invite?
Always deal with both people right from the beginning. Always. There's nothing wrong with talking to the husband or the wife
Yeah.
first, but before you sit down and start showing them houses or anything like that, you've got to have a meeting with both of them. With both of them, because you've got to you've got to know what he wants and what she wants while they're together. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because there could be a reason why this one seller wants to sell and the other one doesn't. There's always a reason why somebody doesn't want to sell, or one wants to buy and the other one doesn't want to buy. What is it about the one that doesn't want to make the decision, whether it's buying or selling, and the other one does? What is the reason? You've got to figure out what the reason is. So if you're the one, you're showing houses and I'm happy, I don't want to buy another house, I want to stay where I am, I'm happy where I am, and the husband wants to move, where is the disconnect? What is it that the wife likes so much about this house? What is she afraid of and he isn't? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've got to come to terms with that. You've got to deal with it. You've got to ask together with them there. Boy, we've got a completely different opinion here. Your wife doesn't want and you do. So let me ask you. I'm sure there's a good reason why you want to stay. Do you mind sharing with me why it is that you don't want to, this is a great house. Is it that they don't like that house or they don't want to make a move at all? What is it? I'm asking you.
Yeah, okay. One example, like a pre-construction untitled. The wife loved it so much. Then her husband said, "No, we don't touch it. Just worry the price."
Okay, so this is they're not buying to move into it.
Yeah.
In this case.
Investment.
I mean, you always have to know the whole story before I can give any kind of advice at all. So in this case, you've got somebody who wants to invest and you've got somebody who's afraid to invest.
Yeah.
That's what you got here.
Yes.
You've got someone who's afraid and you've got someone who's a risk taker.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Yes.
And how long have they been, I'm role playing with you.
Yeah.
How long have the two of you been thinking about investing into a property? How long have you been thinking about doing this?
You mean for them? Or
A year, 2 years, 5 years? How long have you been thinking, maybe we should invest into another pre-construction building? They don't want to move, they want to buy it and rent it out. Am I right or am I wrong? Please help me, I'm trying to understand.
They prefer do consignment. I mean, before closing, just get rid of it for holding.
Okay, so they want to flip it.
Yes.
Okay, they want to flip it. So my question is, how long have they been thinking about doing this? Have they done it before? Do you know the answer to that?
They didn't do that before. When the borrow happens, they also talk me a lot. I want to buy, then finally stop. Then
I'm not understanding you.
Okay,
You're not
I'll
answering
copy
my question. Please
Yeah.
answer my question.
Yeah.
My question is, you've got a couple,
Yes.
one wants to invest,
Yeah.
the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
One is a risk taker, the other one is not. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. How long have they been thinking and talking about doing this and have not yet done it?
Half year.
A half year. Okay. And so, what you're trying to find out is the person who's not willing to take the risk,
Yeah.
is this the way you feel you're going to be? Is it only because of the market the way it is right now? Or they just don't want to invest? They're happy owning what they have and they don't want to invest in any more real estate? In other words, is the person who doesn't want to do it, do they not want to do it because they're just nervous about doing this period? Or they don't want to do it now because the way the market is, and they don't have confidence in the market? What one is it, in your opinion? And if you don't know the answer, you got to ask that.
Yeah.
You got to ask that. You see, you have to understand. Obviously, your wife seems to be a little bit more of a risk taker than you are. I'm role playing with you. Your wife seems to be a little bit more of a risk taker. Am I right? Okay. And again, how you say it, be slap and tickle again. Okay. Because you're being honest with him, because that's what it looks like here. And if he says, you know, she is, you know, I'm just a lot more conservative. So now you've got a different situation here altogether. We as real estate agents, you're not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychiatrist. You are never going to be able to get inside this guy's mind, I'm role playing with you, and change him from being ultra conservative, afraid to risk any money, and make him a risk taker. She is the only one who's going to be able to do that, or he is the only one going to be able to do it. You can't. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because all of a sudden now what you're trying to do is you're trying to change someone's personality. So I'm trying to help you understand. If, however, they're saying this because of the market, you see, that's a different story altogether. That's why you got to ask that question. You got to ask the question because, is it just because of the way the market is that you're concerned about investing, Mr. Jones? Or is it because you just are somebody who doesn't like taking risks, you're comfortable, and you don't want to take any risk with the equity that you have built up? You need to know. Because if he says, I don't, you know, I'm just very conservative and I don't want to risk, then it goes back to, you're trying to change someone's constitution, their brain. You know what I'm saying? You can't take someone who's a completely conservative person and make them a risk taker. Do you follow what I'm saying? Now, if he says it's because of the market, the way the market is, now that's a different story altogether. That's not because he's afraid to invest. He just doesn't have the confidence in the market. It goes back to what you have to do about doing research, proving to them what what the predictions are, and you also need to find out, have they ever made an investment before where they've lost some money? Do they know anybody who's made an investment? Maybe their parents or their brother or somebody in the family or close to them that has lost money. Is any of that an issue? That's where probing, because in order to close somebody, you got to know what's bugging them. Everybody's got worries, fears, doubts rolling around in their minds. Everybody, every client you meet has worries, fears, doubt. Your job, our job as professionals, is to get all of those worries out. Tell me, I know there's something that's troubling you, worrying you. Help me out. What is it that's bothering you? I want to help you out. Like, tell me what it is what's your biggest concern? If you buy this and, what's your biggest concern? Like, that's what you need to be doing. You need to be asking those questions and digging and probing and trying to get it out. Rather than just keep showing houses, and you know what I'm saying? You need to get to the bottom of the problem. Everybody has a pain point. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Everybody has a pain point. You know what I'm making this up. You know what my pain point is? My pain point is every week I put money in my savings account. Every week, more money in savings, and it's growing, and I can go to the bank, I can go online, and I can look, and I can see today it's X amount. Oh, and it's more now, and I've been doing this now for 20 years, 30 years, I've been saving. Oh, I'm not going to take all that money out of the bank and put it into real estate. It's gone in their minds. And you follow what I'm saying? I'm just helping you try understand that people have different worries. So our job as real estate agents is to figure out what is holding them back. And then dealing with how to be able to overcome that fear and to lessen the fear. You may not be able to at all, but many times you can. Most of the time you can, if you can come to the reason why. What is their pain point? What is their worry? In this case, the one I just gave you, he doesn't want to take his money out of the bank because he's worried he's going to lose it all. That's where you need to be able to have the faith in the market. That's why it's so important to know your market, to know the prices, to know real estate, because it gives you that opportunity to be able to communicate with them on a different level. If you yourself, like this young lady at the back here, if you yourself don't have faith in the market and you're worried about the market, you're never going to be able to convince somebody else. Period. End of story. You're never going to be able to. You have to believe in what you do. You have to believe you're doing the right thing. Don't forget that. That's why you need to educate yourself. That's why it's so important to be educated in this business, because what it's doing is it's helping you believe in your business and believe that when you're helping, you're not trying to cheat anybody, you're not trying to steal from people, you're not trying to do anything unethical, unprofessional. You're just trying to know your job really well and know how to be able to promote your work, your job to people, to help people overcome their fear. Everybody has fear. That's what we deal with, and that's what makes us great, is when you can help people overcome their fear and their concern and their hesitancy to be able to make a move, one way or the other, whether it's buy or sell. So, I hope this has helped you guys. It's that time. Yeah, it's 12 o'clock.